Hello, welcome. My name is Ansu. If you're new here, consider subscribing down below. Hello. I feel like it's been a little while since I filmed last. I wanted to sit down and chat to you about the books that I read in the month of May. May was not a great month, but it has passed, so we're going to move on from it, and I'll just wanted to talk about everything I read in the month of May. I actually ended up reading 5 books, which is pretty exciting for me. I don't generally read that much in a month, so I was very excited to get to these books. So let's just talk about it. The first one I got to was Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. I gave this, I think it was 3 or 3.5 stars. One of those. This one follows around two main characters. You have Sophie and Max. Sophie is going to get married to her fiance who just recently has cheated on her, and she does not want to be married to him, but she does not know how to break up with him just because, they're at the marriage stage, and if she ends up breaking up with him, she would have to split up the cost unless it has been told that he cheated on her. So, in a way, to prove that he is continuously cheating on her, she somehow ends up hiring this objector called Max. He objects to the wedding, basically just ends up saying that her fiance is a cheater. She gets out of the wedding, and it's been a few years. Max and Sophie end up meeting again, and they end up working together as objector and objectress. And they end up going for weddings and stopping them from happening and becoming disasters and stuff like that. It was a very interesting and fun novel, honestly. I had a good time reading it. The thing that I wasn't a huge fan of was the miscommunication. Like, these two characters clearly liked each other and they were just like not going for it. And it was like, bro, just start dating. What is wrong with you? I don't get it. And they're trying to like avoid each other quite a bit. And that kind of threw me off quite a lot in this book. It's still Lynn Painter. So she has that kind of like a magical element, a sweet romance to her stories. And I just adore how she writes. So I didn't have any problems with that. It's just the story didn't fully click as much as it could have. It was just dragging out a little too much for me. So I wasn't super enticed by it. So I just ended up giving it like 3.5 stars. It was pretty good. Just not my favorite of Lynn Painter, obviously, but I was still very excited to pick this one up, and I'm glad I still read it. The next one, I finally read Carwell by Stephanie Garber. I've seen this book floating around for so long, and I've been like, you know what, maybe I should pick it up, but I never got around to it. This is the first time I picked up a Stephanie Garber book, I think. This is part of a trilogy, and there is another series that she wrote, Once Upon a Broken Heart, in that series. I saw that, and I was just like, you know what, I really want to read that book, but for that, I need to finish this trilogy, so I thought I would just pick this up. And I got the entire set. So I ended up reading Carwell. It essentially follows around the two sisters. There's Scarlett and Tella, who lived in this very small town, island, I guess, with their abusive father for so long. And there's this thing called the Carwell. Carwell is this circus of sorts where it only goes to certain places once in a lifetime. They had already visited their little island years and years ago, where Scarlett and Tella's grandmother apparently has been to this whole show. So it's never going to come back to their island ever again. And they're trying to get an invitation into this circus. That's the only way you can attend it. And these attendees can actually participate in this circus. It's supposed to be very mysterious and dramatic, and we don't really know what happens behind the scenes, what is real and what is not. And that's the premise of it. Scarlett and Tella end up going there. Obviously, that is the whole point of the story. And they go there, they have a lot of different adventures, and it is very entertaining for sure. I enjoyed it. I had a good time reading it, honestly. It was not something that I'm super used to anymore. I don't really read fantasies or anything like that much anymore, but just getting back into this fantastical world was very interesting to me. I had a good time reading it. I will continue on with the rest of the series. I started the next one, but I just haven't finished it. So it was an entertaining book. You can definitely see that it's young adult. I think I gave this like 3 stars if I'm not wrong. It's a pretty decent book. Okay, the next book I read was The Unlikely Adventures of the Shergill Sisters by Bali Kaur Jaswal. This is the same author that wrote erotic stories for Punjabi widows. And I had seen that book floating around a lot, but I had ended up getting this from Book Outlet, so I was like, you know what, I might as well read it sometime, and I picked this one up. This one follows around 3 different sisters, the Shergill sisters. They're in like their 30s to 40s or something, and all the 3 sisters are very different, and they're living completely different lives, and they're not close to each other. Their mother ends up dying after battling with, I believe it was cancer. On her deathbed, her last wish was that these sisters get together and go to India and do the last rituals, like the Hindu rituals, for laying her to rest. So these 3 obviously had like completely different lives. The oldest sister vowed that she would never return to India. She has a teenage son. She's also a school principal. The second sister is this actress, or aspiring actress rather, and she's kind of a failed actress at this point, and she's struggling a lot. And the last sister is in this marriage which seems kind of unhappy to an extent, but we're not really seeing all that story until much later. And Sharina, the youngest sister's in-laws, are forcing her to do something which could be such a pivotal decision in her life, and she has to come to terms with what she wants to do. And that's kind of how the wives are. So we have Rajni, Jasmine, and Sharina. So these three sisters end up actually going to India to do the last rituals. They have such a lot of struggle just trying to work with each other, and they go through a lot of pain, a lot of heartbreak, and just understanding what each of them are going through. And it's about that familial respect and love that they finally gain throughout this whole time that they're there. There are a lot of things that I really enjoyed about this, but I haven't been in northern India that much for me to relate to a lot of these concepts. I am Catholic, so the rituals that we have are not necessarily the same, but I know of it. So couldn't relate much to the characters or anything, but the main thing I could relate was the whole aspect of what will people think. That really hit. Like, that fucking hit. That is something that a lot of us brown people go through, and it is definitely there. That whole feeling of like, what will people think? What can I do? Like, all the decisions that you make are based on what people would think. And that's exactly what these characters are going through. And no matter what happens, it is always that, like, what will people think? In Rajini's life, it was the same thing with her teenage son. Sharina, the youngest, she obviously has something with her in-laws, and she's sticking with this marriage that clearly is very unhappy because what will people think? And the second sister, Jasmine, who is an aspiring actress, she's totally failing at what she's doing at this point. And again, like, if she quits, what will people think? If she's continuing and failing, what will people think? That whole thing is always haunting them, and that was very relatable. These characters overall, it's just very hurtful, the things that they're going through, and just reading about that was really interesting. I don't think I've read anything that really hit that much into my heart, and I was like, even though I don't relate fully, I completely understood the statements that were going through them. I hope the author didn't have to go through any of these things, but still, it was really a pretty great book. I really enjoyed it. The last two books are part of a duology, so I ended up reading The Family Upstairs and The Family Remains by Lisa Jewell. You definitely need to read these books in order. I did not know that they were part of the series because I got them separately, but anywho, I don't know how much I can say about this book, obviously. So we have 25-year-old Libby Jones, who came home one day from work, and she got this letter, and she finally is going to understand who her real family was. She has been living with her adopted parents for all this time, and finally comes to the realization of who she truly was. And when she opens this letter, the first thing she gets is that she has an inheritance to this massive house, like a fucking mansion. That whole house is in shambles. It straight up looks like a haunted house. But even with that fact, it is worth millions. She's pretty much a millionaire now, and she's coming to that realization that she has a lot, and she's trying to figure out who her family is. Nearly like 25 years prior, there was a phone call that the police got to go to this house where there was a bunch of people who were dead. There was like 4 or 5 people who were dead, and it looks like they poisoned themselves and died. It was like a cult, it seemed. And they only found a healthy 10-month-old baby, safe and sound. Everybody else was dead. And there's supposed to be some kids in that house, but nobody knows what happened to them, where they are, or anything. But the adults in that house are all completely dead, seemingly poisoning themselves. The story goes from there. It's about us trying to figure out what happened to these kids who disappeared, if they're still alive, or what happened. Like, we're trying to figure that whole situation. So that's what's happening in this book. This is a continuation of that. I think this is in 2019 or so. Again, just following around the same general characters, just getting more of a background about them. I think I enjoyed this one more. This felt very culty. This is getting a background, and I didn't really vibe with this one as much. I think I gave this like 3 stars. It was interesting to see like what the plot was, but honestly, it's very culty. I did not understand it. This one though, The Family Remains, interesting, really, really fun. And there was a particular character that I was so happy died. Oh my god, this is very, very entertaining. I really enjoyed this one a lot more. I think this was like a 4-star, but yeah, a good duology overall, but I kind of didn't like the first one. The second one I really did enjoy. So those were all the 5 books I read in the month of May. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know what you read in May, because I would love to know. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Ansu. Hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to be notified every single time I upload a new video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all next time with another one. Until then, I'll talk to you all in the comments. Bye!